Christmas is almost upon us, and you might be in the supermarket and see these sorts of cheap LED lights and decide to pick a few up to decorate. But hold that thought, because I'm about to give them a test to see if they're worth it or if you can get much more bang for your buck. The one I bought was on sale for £8 for this 2-metre strip, and it comes with one of these infrared remotes, which is a bit of a red flag in my experience, but we continue. Looking at it, the strip appears to be around 30 LEDs per metre, and it is PU coated, so you could at least use this strip just about anywhere, but you'll likely need to keep the battery compartment itself dry. The trouble with cheap LEDs like this is that, first of all, you only get one colour across the entire strip, and the colour recreation is usually pretty awful, which means you can often clearly see that the colour that you set is not what you get, and that becomes especially obvious if you set it to white like this. It'll often look red, or in this case, rather blue tinted. I don't know how well you can see this on camera, but to the naked eye, you can actually see the individual red, green and blue diodes within that are not clearly merged together to make a nice pure white colour. So let's try a few other colours. Red looks okay, the green looks fine, and the blue looks fine. But the trouble usually comes when you mix them together. That teal colour, again, easier to see with the naked eye, but you can kind of see a separate bit of blue and green coming off of it to try and make teal. Similar case with the purple colour. You can see the individual red and blue LEDs quite prominently in real life, which makes for a pretty muddy colour. But it's cheap, right? So that doesn't matter too much. Well, no. The more you compare the cost of these things with the length and number of LEDs multiplied out against other strips, the more you realise just how much you're being ripped off. At the beginning of this video, you could see another LED strip on the shelf next to this one. This is Tesco's Smart offering, and it's exactly the same quality LED strip, but with a smart controller. But it still doesn't properly support Apple's smart home ecosystem, only Siri shortcuts, which might let you turn it on or off with your voice. And it's almost double the price of this strip, and it's still only 2 meters long. Now let's compare my go-to setup for a smart LED strip, which I use all around my home. First of all, we take one of my addressable Wi-Fi LED controllers, which, to be fair, is around £20 right off the bat. But please be patient, I've got some legit maths coming up. Then we take some nicer quality addressable LED strip from a reputable brand like BTF Lighting, and that's also around £20. So we're at about a total of £40 for this setup. But there's a huge advantage to this setup right off the bat, and that is that these are addressable LEDs. So each individual LED can be set to a colour individually, allowing for really cool effects like what you see behind me, which look a whole lot better because they are recreated with accurate colour from a higher quality strip. And for many people, that's enough to tip the scales. But I'm not done. And what we've ended up with is option A subpar level of smart, poor colour, dim LED strip for £15. Or option B, a highly smart, high quality, bright, addressable LED strip for £40. But the most important thing to note here is that option A is only 2 meters long, whereas option B is 5 meters. So in order to get the same length of strip, the cost would actually be £37.50 for option A. And it gets worse, because option A is only 30 LEDs per meter, whereas option B is 60 LEDs per meter. So to get the same number of individual LEDs, you would have to spend a whopping £75 on option A. And those LEDs, as we covered, aren't as good quality. So to break it down as simply as possible, in terms of costing an LED strip setup, the price per meter of each option is almost exactly the same, around £8 per meter. But you don't get anywhere near the same brightness, colour quality, number of LEDs per meter, or smarts from the supermarket strips. Yes, with our controllers, some assembly is required. You do just need to poke these wires into these holes in the correct order using some sort of poking tool. But we have made it as easy as possible to get started with our controllers. You simply take the tail that comes with most LED strips, poke them into the holes, and plug it into USB-C power source for 5-volt strips, and connect this to the strip. They connect to Home Assistant for smart home automation, and at that point they can fully operate with your smart home assistant of choice. And they can easily be used with addressable LED strips like we already saw. They could be used with seed lights like these, which, top tip, I would always recommend getting the ones spaced further apart in case you need to cut and solder them, and fairy lights like these, all of which are available from the links on my website. If you want to buy one of our controllers, we should, by the time this video has dropped, have just fully restocked them available on Amazon, and they even now include a microphone to do audio reactive effects as well. As I said before, links to all of this stuff is available on my website, and remember, home is where the smart is.